Hey everyone, my name is Derek, and if you're watching this, then you're probably trying to install my Chunk Challenge mod in order to get started on a fun new Minecraft adventure. So I'm going to walk you through exactly how you do everything to get set up to do a Chunk Challenge. So first of all, you'll need the very simple mod that I created. You can find everything at CurseForge. You may be able to find it other places. I'll link any other links where the mods are hosted in the description of this video in the future. But for now, it's on CurseForge, and that's where we'll start. So you just need to get the proper file from here. I currently have versions for 1.21 NeoForge and 1.20.1 for Forge. I may be able to expand that in the future, but we're working on that. So this is the core mod. It doesn't do much besides show a number. For the mechanics of the chunk challenge, you're going to want to, I really highly recommend using Zero's Open Parties and Claims mod. I think this is pretty much essential for the chunk challenge. And then I really highly recommend using Zero's Minimap mod as well, because it's just going to show you which chunks around you locally that you've claimed. And it's very nice when you're under the ground, instead of just having to mine into restricted chunks and be surprised, you can kind of see if you're on the right spot. So basically, download all of those mods and put them in your mod folder as you normally would. Obviously, you need to get, for this example, I'll be using NeoForge. So if you need NeoForge, you can also just grab it for the appropriate version of Minecraft. Again, currently it's NeoForge 21.0 for Minecraft 1.21. So once you have that, put them all in the folder, and then we're going to open Minecraft. This is Minecraft in NeoForge. You can see down here, 1.21.1 NeoForge. And let's make a new world. So for this example, I'm going to set things in creative mode, but you don't actually have to do that. It's actually perfectly fine to do it in survival. And if you want to play in hard, you could even do hardcore if you wanted to, if you wanted to really make it challenging. It's really up to you how you want to play it. But I'm going to set it to creative. If you do survival, I would say allow commands just in case you need to change some things. So it's up to you, though. You can just leave it however you like. So we'll create a new world here. And then we spawned in here with one of the most important tips here I want to give you is, as you can see at the top left-hand corner, we've got the mini map already. It's zoomed in fairly closely, which I think is a good compromise between convenience and not giving yourself too much information that vanilla Minecraft doesn't have. It is a challenge run after all, and every mod that we add might give us little advantages that we may or may not want to use. So in any case, the default zoom in for Zero's minimap is pretty close, and I think that's pretty fair. So now that we're in the game, we're just going to configure open parties and claims a little bit. There's a couple of settings we want to do, and we're going to go into the player config menu. Perhaps the most important thing to do is to go into the wilderness config here and turn claimed chunk protection on. That, if you do nothing else, do that. And you will have to eventually do some of the other things too. But what this essentially does is that when we go back to the game, now we can't break any blocks in this chunk. Here's another hot tip. If you hold F3 and G on your keyboard at the same time, you can see the chunk borders. So this is really useful for the chunk challenge, and I use this all the time just to help myself visualize where I can build, where I can interact, and where I cannot. So right now, because we've protected the wilderness chunks, technically because we haven't claimed any chunks at all yet, this is wilderness to us, and we're not allowed to interact within it. So, but the way we change that is quite simple. We're going to press the apostrophe key, which is right next to the semicolon key on QWERTY keyboards, and we're going to very easily click the claim button here. So now we can see that's my Minecraft name. We've claimed this particular chunk, and you'll see on the mini-map at the top left, it's now highlighted in a color, which you can change if you like. You can change it in some of the options for this. But I think it stands out pretty well versus some other colors. So now that we've claimed this chunk, we can now break it and interact with blocks and build and get wood and do all the Minecrafty stuff. And again, that chunk cap at the bottom left really just tells you how many chunks can we claim using the Open Parties and Claims mod. There are a couple of other things that I think you do want to change, and they're actually pretty important things. So we're going to go back to the player config menu. Again, we're pressing apostrophe, we're going to player config menu, and now we're going to my player config. This is super important for certain interactions, especially with creeper explosions, and sometimes villagers can get kind of stuck if you don't change a few of these settings. So this is in just whatever, for this config, it's for any chunks that you claim. One of the biggest ones is turning off claim chunk protection. Because it's a single player, we're not worried about other players changing stuff or messing with our chunks. So we want to turn this off because this helps a lot with a lot of interactions that can kind of mess up the single player experience. I actually find it easy to hit that and then go back into the menu, because I think when you turn this off and then exit out of this menu, it automatically turns off some things that you want to turn off. However, there are some other things we want to turn off. We want to turn off crop trample protection. I like leaving fluid barrier on because then it prevents you from getting for having interaction from chunks you haven't claimed, essentially. I like to turn off protect entities from players. And I like to turn off protect entities from mobs. Because basically I don't want any special bonuses just because I claimed a chunk. Really, the core of it is just like you're claiming it just so that you can interact in it, and it doesn't grant you any other bonuses. So I like turning those off. I like to turn off basically any of these entity things. Protect entities from other. I like to turn that off. Let's see. And then protect entities from explosions, also turning that off. If a creeper blows up, you gotta deal with that. Same with fire and village raids. I want those to be able to happen in claimed chunks. Same with player lightning, turn that off. And that's basically it, I think. I don't think there's any other settings that you could decide to not protect nether portals. That's another option as well. I mean, this doesn't matter because it's solo. Single player, but and you can go through these are mostly, the force loading is a whole other question about how you want to play the chunk challenge, but those are the core things that you want to make sure you disable. And that should basically set you up to play your own version of the chunk challenge. So have fun, and if you have any other questions, make sure you leave a comment here in the video or leave a comment on the mod on CurseForge. All right, have fun, enjoy.